Welcome to Home Biz Tax Talk. My name is Lysandra Everett. I am the Home Biz Tax Lady, where I help home business owners win the tax game. Home Biz Tax Talk airs Monday through Friday, 9 o'clock-ish. And when you tune into my show, you're going to hear about topics that are important to the home business community. All right. So I want to talk about tax preparer due diligence. Okay. And the reason I want to talk about it is that I've been seeing a lot of complaints, people complaining about tax professionals asking for more information. Okay, I'm in a lot of tax groups, so I'm hearing the complaints from, the tax preparers that are enduring the drama, and I'm also seeing from taxpayers who are having heartburn about this whole issue. So I really want to talk about it so that people gain an understanding from both sides, like what's really going on here. So one of the things that that the IRS is really trying to cut down on is fraud. Okay, I want to say I saw an article that said in 2017 there was like $9.6 billion or something like that, for fraud. Okay, and just to give you an example, there's a dude in Florida who got a $980,000 tax refund because he filed a fraudulent return. And yes, the IRS went back and got their money hunty, okay? But he filed a fraudulent return and got this money. Now, he did some fraudulent stuff on his own using at-home software. So that didn't have anything to do with tax professionals. It's just one of the things to let you know that fraud is out there. Filing fraudulent returns on Schedule Cs, just filing false claims for the earned income tax credit, education credits, energy credits, all these different types of credits. So this is why due diligence is so important. And so I want to go through and just share with you some of the things that we have that's called a due diligence checklist, because this is really the first line of defense to really prevent fraud. Us asking these questions is the first line of defense. And so some people get ticked off because they don't want to answer the questions, or they really want you to do something fraudulent. And when you're not down with that, then they want to go to someone else who is. So, and especially, now that people are really crying the blues about, seeing reduced refunds, increased tax liabilities, all of these types of things make a perfect storm for somebody to want to try to do something illegal. But I want to definitely share with you what our requirements are as tax professionals so that you understand where we're coming from, right? So it asks us, and I have my list up over here on my other computer. It asks us, did any information provided by the taxpayer in connection to the return appear to be incorrect, incomplete, or inconsistent? So it's asking us to think, like, does this really make sense, right? Did you ask the taxpayer whether he or she could provide documentation to substantiate the eligibility for claiming these credits? So it's not just that you walk in and say, oh, I'm claiming head of household. Oh, I'm claiming this kid. Oh, I'm claiming this, that, and the other. And we're not supposed to be asking questions. That's not how the IRS gets down anymore. And then for earned income tax credit, have you determined that the taxpayer is in fact eligible to claim the earned income credit for the number of children claimed on this return? Did you ask the taxpayer if the child lived with the taxpayer for over half the year? Did you explain the taxpayer rules? Then for head of household, have you determined that the taxpayer is unmarried and provided more than half of the cost of keeping up a home for a qualifying person? So when you come to us and you've earned $5,000 and you're trying to claim head of household, we're going, okay, no. Because you're going to sit here and tell me that you've spent $5,000 and that is, over half the cost of maintaining a household for a year? Like, no, that doesn't make sense. So this is why we're asking for all of this information. We're asking questions that may seem intrusive to you. We're asking about the other parent. We're asking about, what kind of support or anything like that. We're asking all of these questions because this is what we're required to do. But let me tell you what happens if we don't. Okay. So, and this is from the IRS website. It says the penalty for each failure to meet your due diligence requirement for earned income tax credit, child tax credit, additional child tax credit, other dependent credit, the American Opportunity Credit, or head of household filing. For returns filed after 2018, it's $520 per failure. Okay? And then the penalty applies for each credit incorrectly claimed on a return. So if a preparer fails to meet due diligence requirements for all three credits of head of household filing status, the preparer's penalty will be $2,080 for that return. Now, I don't know about you, but I ain't got time to be writing $2,080 checks to the IRS because of a penalty. And if you are, and if you show a history of failing to do your due diligence, to do your homework, to ask the questions, right? If you continue to fail to do that, then now you have a history of fraud. Okay? And people do go to jail for fraud. Tax people do go to jail for fraud. I just shared in my tax group about a tax person who not only filed fraudulent returns, but he taught other tax professionals how to file fraudulent returns, and it was just crazy. And so, yeah, he's going to jail and he's having to pay some money back. So this is why we're asking all of the questions. This is why we're asking for documentation. And also understand that if you're self-employed, it is also just as important for you to document your income as it is to be able to document your expenses. Because see, when you come to us and say, oh, I made about $15,000 this year. Okay. Where did that number come from? Right? You've got to be able to show where this, if your tax professional asks you, hey, do you have documentation for this income because something don't seem right? You got to be able to provide that. And for me, if I ask you for documentation that you are not willing to provide, then I'm not preparing this return. Because see, my professionalism is on the line. My career is on the line, and I'm not giving that up because you don't want to follow the rules, right? So you've got to be able to, show documentation for your income, documentation for your expenses, documentation for your dependents. It's not just your social security card. What kind of school records do you have? Something that shows that this child lived with you for for at least half the year. Right? Now, this is completely different where if you have parents who alternate between claiming their children, that is absolutely fine. Okay. We're not talking about that. We're talking about people who claim in Ray down the street because his mama has, 5 kids and she wasn't going to get anything extra. So I'm claiming that kid. And no, the way that the systems are talking now, this has become more of an automated process. So not only is the IRS looking at, okay, so who claimed Ray in 2017? Who claimed him in 2016? Ooh, who claimed him in 2015? They're also looking at Medicaid and all of these other types of, entities, and they're talking to each other. So if Junior has one address here and one address here and another address over there, there is something that's not right. Again, we're not talking about parents. We're talking about people who do things such as rent out their kids' social security number so people can claim that child and get some earned income credit. That does not belong to them. And see, when you get caught claiming these credits that don't belong to you, then you have to pay back that credit as well as a penalty. And if you owed and, originally should have owed, you're going to be paying that plus penalties and interest too. So this is not something, again, that's optional for us. This is a requirement because the failure is that then we got to write checks and our profession is on the line. Our ability to prepare taxes is on the line. And a tax professional, somebody who's really serious about their business, is not going to be allowing you, one taxpayer, to come over here and mess up stuff for us. That's just not how we getting down. We just not doing that today. Okay. So don't get upset with your tax preparer when they're asking you for documentation for the things that you're claiming, whether it's income, whether it's expenses, the dependent, your education, if you got to provide a tuition bill or something like that, because people forge documents, people forge 1098Ts. They know all the documents. They go on Google, get them a 1098T and type some information in there. And then you're filing these false claims. So as a tax preparer, we have to go above and beyond to make sure that you're claiming things that you are entitled to. We're not trying to keep you from getting something that you're entitled to. We're trying to keep you from committing a crime. Okay? That's what it is. Fraud is a crime. It just is. And so whether or not you'll go to jail for fraud will depend on, really the history of what you've been doing. So if you've been filing return after return after return, claiming false credits and false business expenses and all that, that builds a case against you for fraud. And yes, for that, you will go to jail. Now, there is a difference between fraudulent activity and an error, meaning that, okay, it might have been a typo or something. If you earned $10,000 and somebody said you earned $1,000, okay, that's a typo. Okay, that's one time you'll have to pay some money, but hey, that's not a jailable offense. But when you have gone year after year after year doing fraudulent stuff, yeah, that's when the IRS is going, no, this wasn't a mistake. You were intentional. Okay, we're talking about willful versus accidental. Willful is when you are doing it over and over and over again. That means you know what you're doing and you don't care. So, that's what it boils down to. So yeah, tax preparer due diligence is not something that is to be taken lightly. And as a taxpayer, I'm gonna need for you to get your patience on and really be willing to work with your tax preparer and giving them the required information. Because in the event of an audit, not only are they going to be looking at you, they're going to be looking at the tax professional. Did you do your homework before you allowed this return to go forward? And if we didn't do our homework, then we got to go write checks and possibly be banned from preparing taxes in the future. And it's just not worth it. It is not worth it for us to commit fraud so that you can get a couple $1,000s back that don't belong to you to begin with. This is why the PATH Act is in place right now. People are upset because, the earned income tax credit, the refunds that contain the earned income tax credit, the child tax credit and all that are delayed until February 15th. Well, it's to cut down on fraud, to give the IRS time to verify as much as possible that the money is going to the right people. Because once the money is gone, it's gone. And by the time they catch up to you, 9 times out of 10, you don't have the money to pay it back anyway. So yeah, that's why that law is in place, to keep people from committing fraud as much as possible. So get your patience on. We got the new tax laws this year. Everybody is going through some changes. And so we have to adjust how we do business. That's just life. We got to adjust how we do business. Okay. So I hope that gives you something to chew on. I also hope this helps you understand where we're coming from as tax professionals, where we're asking for all this stuff. It's not because we're trying to get in your business. It's not because we're trying to be nosy. We're trying to protect our businesses. That's what it boils down to. All right. So thank you so much for tuning into Home Biz Tax Talk. Again, we air Monday through Friday, 9 o'clock-ish, and you can come here to get your questions answered about your home business taxes. And if you have not scheduled your 15-minute complimentary consultation, you can do so at www.homebiztaxchat.com. All right. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.